top-heavy, overstaffed, unprofitable, grumpy entitled staff, in-flight product generations behind. These are all traits of a government-owned airline. But today, I aim to dispel that myth. This is Taiwan's flag carrier, China Airlines.
好了，谢谢，拜拜。
Step 1, wake up early, gonna rise with the sun. Step 2, get some good, some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day.
We begin this video at Australia's third busiest airport. Just how many languages and accents can I break into? Well, let's cross over to Live Ryan to find out.
Good day everyone，你好。今日我哋坐中华航空对布里斯班飞往奥克兰。今天我真的很高兴，因为可以尝试中华航空公司商舱服务，而且华航还是正在使用最新的空巴 A350 飞机。So without further ado, let's head into the terminal to check in and begin this trans-Tasman experience. So let's fly across the Dutch. Let's do this.
Welcome to the International Terminal of Brisbane Airport. It always feels great to be flexing our passports and cross an international border because you know an incredible adventure is awaiting. Today's flight to Auckland is just a small part of a wider travel series. And if you're new to my channel, my name's Ryan. Born and bred in Singapore, I now call Australia home. And I create heaps of travel and food related content. This trip began in Adelaide a couple of days ago, where I flew to Melbourne. While there, I filmed an eventful foodie video. Bonza Airlines beckoned and they flew me to Sunshine Coast. I then found myself in Gympie, where I took the train to Brisbane. And here I am today, heading to New Zealand. Tomorrow, I experience the country's newest train service to Hamilton, and more flying awaits between the North and South Islands. There is huge drama in Auckland with a cancelled flight, which was thoroughly covered in 2 videos before. And I finally get on board Qantas for one last flight to take me home. Make sure you stay tuned for these videos as and when they're published. Even better, hit subscribe and the bell icon so you won't miss the next episode going to air. Giving me a like is the best way to encourage me to keep prodding along to make more videos. So here's the thanks, because your support is very much appreciated. I figured my video isn't going to air in China anyways, so I'll be mentioning the word Taiwan a lot in this episode. China Airlines is not to be confused with Air China. The latter is the official flag carrier of People's Republic of China. The airline I'm on today is the flag carrier of Taiwan, officially known as Republic of China. And the airline is based out of Taoyuan Airport, which serves the nation's capital, Taipei. China Airlines is majority owned by the China Aviation Development Foundation. It's a wholly owned entity of the Taiwanese government. This airline operates under the umbrella of China Airlines Group, which include a sister airline, Mandarin Airlines, low-cost carrier Tiger Air Taiwan, and of course, China Airlines Cargo. For such a small country hovering around 23 million people, China Airlines sits amongst the top 10 airlines in the world in terms of freight revenue ton kilometers, hauling an average of some 5,700 tons of cargo annually. Passenger stats aren't too far behind. The airline ranks 33rd in the world in terms of revenue passenger kilometers. Qantas code shares on some China Airlines sectors if you're flying between Taipei and the Aussie destinations of Brisbane, Sydney and Melbourne. However, this code share is missing for this sector between Brisbane and Auckland. So if you're a points junkie like I am, you'd miss out on some points and status credits. Nevertheless, I'm still so stoked to be flying them today because the last time I did it was in March 1986 on an Airbus A300B4 between Hong Kong and Singapore. So to say it's been a while, it's really an understatement. There is something so tranquil about Brisbane's international terminal. Opened in 1995, little has changed, but I reckon with the upcoming Olympics to be held here in 2032, I struggle to see how this terminal is going to cope. What we see here today is a quiet, peaceful capacity to handle numerous international wide-body aircraft, including the Airbus A380. Arrivals during peak hour is a horrible affair, just like any other major Aussie international airports, where human traffic management is a distant afterthought. So while I'm appreciating this lovely morning in an airy, glassy terminal building, I make a mental note to keep track of Brisbane's infrastructure expansion projects for the Olympics. As a business class passenger flying out of Brisbane Airport with China Airlines, you get access into Plaza Premium Lounge. It is not a huge location, so I can imagine this getting very crowded during peak hours. This morning, besides us, this lounge also played host to the transit passengers getting off this very same flight from Taipei and continuing on to Auckland. The breakfast spread is actually rather decent, and if you're used to the brekkie offerings in Qantas lounges, this is a serious step up. Later in the stay, they did change the food offerings over to lunch, and they had a curry chicken which was honestly some of the best I've ever had in Australia. And I don't say that very often about curries. It was so good I had several serves. China Airlines Flight 53 begins her journey in Taipei and makes a red-eye 9-hour flight into Brisbane. After a short transit, it continues to Auckland, and passengers like me are able to join the flight on the second sector. Besides China Airlines, Brisbane to Auckland is also presently served by Qantas, Air New Zealand and Jetstar. Anyway, speaking of which, there's our aircraft pulling in after arriving from Taipei. In 2016, when China Airlines took delivery of her first Airbus A350, the airline stunned the industry with its seriously fierce-looking business class cabin. Ever since then, I've been scheming and strategizing how the hell was I ever gonna get on one of these beautiful birds. And then I started this YouTube channel over COVID. And the rest is history. And I finally found an opportunity on this trip to fit this amazing airline into my travel plans. To say I was so excited would be an understatement. My heart was pounding so hard you'd think I was watching porn for the first time. Looking pristine out there and proudly carrying the plum blossom on her tail is Bravo 18917, an Airbus A350-900 which first flew in April 2018, making her just over 5.5 years old at the time of writing. One of the glaring design flaws of Brisbane International is this extremely narrow walkway, which is mostly taken up by queue poles trying their best to direct passengers where to line up according to class of travel. Walking towards the gate, economy passengers were mostly lost, not knowing the economy line is set up at the opposite end of the gate. So most passengers instinctively hovered around here, clogging up an already very limited waiting area. This comes to show, for a design which was dated in the 1980s, it definitely has not kept up with the times. You know something has to change when you have staff constantly yelling instructions to passengers what to do and where to go. Priority boarding was very strictly enforced, so business class passengers and SkyTeam Elite members were invited to board first. Man, I swear I was almost running into the plane now because I simply could not wait to get on board. I had selected a seat at the rear of the aircraft on the port side to ensure maximum privacy for filming. So here we go. I have never had so many flight attendants welcoming me all at once. Suppose when they saw a fellow yellow approaching, the instinct was to yell out greetings in Mandarin, which came fast and furious. It was a chorus of 你好,欢迎,小心哦,座位在那边. It immediately brought me back to my time spent in Taiwan, when everyone was just so effortlessly polite to the T. And no matter how old they are, everyone sounded like they were 12 years old. Oh my freaking god! There's a reason why the window shades have been pulled down for boarding this daytime flight. Because the dazzling, moody ambience of this cabin is best enjoyed with the full, elegant lighting on display. And this is perhaps one of the most stunning welcome I've ever had on an airline. It was jaw-dropping. And this walk to your seat is in itself an impressive opening number to a Broadway production of an impressive stage setup. When you think of Chinese decoration concepts, an abundance of red and gold immediately springs to mind, which is what some airlines in mainland China do with their cabin color palettes. You'd be surprised how this bright color choices is missing in Taiwan. So this earthy, moody undertones with lots of wood reminds me of a typical village in the highlands of Shifen. And this concept is so stylishly replicated here. And this evil-looking lamp, I can just see Voldemort caressing it and wishing the demise of Harry Potter. As the cabin settled and window shades opened, you can see how the ambience have now changed to something somewhat ordinary, but still stunningly beautiful nonetheless. You can absolutely tell how the designers have carefully thought of every single color, fabric, and textured surface, and how they've all come together in this harmonic blend of heaven. The cabin manager's personal welcome was next. She went about nodding, smiling, quickly greeting, but mostly spent time welcoming specific status flyers of SkyTeam, because that's what you do. What I did not expect was how she addressed me by name and spent time chatting with me as if I was a status flyer, because I have nothing with SkyTeam. When I get addressed as Mr. So, or in this case, Su Xiansheng, I always tell the crew to just call me Ryan. But because this conversation was entirely in Mandarin, this request just does not translate into that language, nor will it sit well in this service culture. So I left it at that.
本班机已经关闭舱门，基于飞行安全，请将电子用品调整为飞行模式，并确认已经关闭 Wi-Fi 功能。Dear passengers, the entry door is closed. For flight safety, please switch all electronic devices to flight mode and make sure Wi-Fi function has been turned on.
An interesting observation of the cabin announcements. They were done in 3 languages: Hokkien, Mandarin, and English. Hokkien first surfaced on aircraft announcements when EVA Air came about in the late 80s. Although the official language in Taiwan is Mandarin, Hokkien is spoken by over 70% of its population. And today, we have Hokkien spoken on China Airlines as well. Hokkien is also spoken in parts of the Fujian province in southern China. And that's where my forefathers come from. After a smooth takeoff from runway 19 left, we were soon making a few left turns before intercepting an airway which would take us across the Tasman towards New Zealand. We would approach Auckland from the north, then swing around in the opposite direction to land at Auckland International Airport, completing this journey in 3 hours 15 minutes, covering a distance of about 2,300 kilometers. I've done premium classes on countless of airlines, but I always look forward to the meal service of Asian carriers because of their excellent attention to detail. And China Airlines is no exception. I kid you not when I say the flight attendant placed items on the table and turned them around in its position to ensure brands were facing me. Whether it was the can of Coke, or the napkin, and the airline branded snack pack. I'm seriously a sucker for little things like this. As part of the business class dining experience, we are able to pre-select award-winning meals. For those new to my channel, let me introduce me to you. And I am a top-level Gold Star foodie, and I highly recommend Taiwan if you're like me who loves to eat like there's no tomorrow. Sadly, those beautiful-looking meals presented for my selection were not available for Brisbane to Auckland. But fret not, I was able to view the menu on today's flight and pre-select my meal from there as well. When you're flying an airline from a country with such a rich and vibrant culinary tradition dating back hundreds of years, there's only one thing to do. Select an option which is from there. This is a pork belly stew braised for hours with preserved mustard cabbage. It's called 梅菜扣肉. The mustard cabbage itself is preserved in salt and vinegar, and the end result is a very unique flavor. And this is then combined with the pork belly, soy, aromatics of cinnamon and star anise, and balanced with sugar at the end. One very obvious indicator this meal was catered out of Brisbane was the inclusion of red bell peppers with bak choy. Ew, like why? No one would ever do this in a Chinese restaurant. Another glaring indicator was the absence of spoons in the cutlery set. All I had were forks, 2 of them, and a knife. Who eats rice with fork and knife? I flagged down a flight attendant and she had a laugh and shook her head, and then moaned that the Australians always do this to us. I was almost about to use my dessert spoon. Anyways, she asked if I did not mind getting a plastic cutlery set from economy class because it contained a large enough spoon. She later returned with not just what she promised, but managed to find a pair of beautiful wooden chopsticks as well. Jackpot! Now this Ching Chong Chinaman is happy. This dish immediately brought me back to Taiwan. It also invoked memories of my grandmother's kitchen, because this dish is also commonly found in southern China, Malaysia, and Singapore. It is great that the integrity of this pork belly stew has been kept despite this coming from the flight kitchen in Brizzy. This definitely gets a huge thumbs up. Trust me when I say, later that evening as I settled into my airport hotel in Auckland, I tucked into my $45 pasta at the lobby restaurant, wishing it was this plate of delicious 梅菜扣肉. With lunch completed, it was time to try out the flatbed of this Collins Aerospace Super Diamond Seed. So we have about 90 minutes left of flying time. Lunch is done. I've got a glass of green tea. And now you just you can actually just lay back and relax, and there's not much of a flying time left. I wish I was on a longer flight, honestly, because this is such a fantastic experience. So next time I'll get on a longer flight. So for now, just let me enjoy the flatbed. I think it's a bit narrow, I think, but because the armrests can be lowered, so you get to stretch out a bit more. But on this side, it's a little restricted. Yeah, so yeah, it's good. I mean, of course, it's better than economy class. You can lay flat and all, but yeah, there is a little drawback here because of this thing here to my right. Yeah, but hey, nothing can be perfect, right? Yeah. Sadly, we're now approaching the end of this amazing flight. However, I'm also looking forward to my time in New Zealand because I have not been back here since 2015. This is also the perfect opportunity for me to sum up my thoughts about being back on China Airlines 中华航空公司 after a whopping 37 years. A lot of parallels can be drawn between China Airlines and Korean Air. Both were huge, dominant, and very cumbersome flag carriers of the country they represented. And both had very shocking safety records. Both airlines also had extremely expensive rebranding exercises in trying to repair their tarnished image, and have also gone through great lengths to overhaul their cockpit culture. The Korean Air we know today is a very different animal from the one before, and is today one of the top airlines in the world. China Airlines isn't far behind. They have totally transformed their crew resource management in how cockpit crew behaves in flight. In the past, cultural norms dictated a top-down approach and do not question authority and seniority. It is hard enough for a first officer to say I have control in a normal scenario, let alone within the cockpit with extremely heavy patriarchal overtones. That went a long way to explain the several high-profile crashes they've had when no one dared to question the captain who was flying into disaster. From what I can see today, I can safely say China Airlines have truly transformed into this amazing outfit of an airline. And here we are with this amazing business class product. Where do I even begin? Firstly, I really commend the designers who expertly matched every single element together. The vibes of a Taiwanese tea house is clearly the inspiration, and what an extremely stylish, moody tone it gave off. Come to think of it, some of the best Taiwanese dining experience I've been to have all looked like that. If only airlines could step out of the box and out of that drab grey on beige and more beige, life could be so much more interesting. And the service. There was lots of bowing, curtsy, apologizing for the tiniest flaw like my economy cutlery pack, and the service style was just impeccable. Suppose it helped I was able to converse in their native tongue, and from what I saw, there were strangely only 3 passengers in this full business class cabin who spoke Mandarin or Hokkien. Everyone else was Caucasian, and I was assuming communication with them was in English. So perhaps the common ground of spoken language did help the crew in their excellent interaction with me. The one teeny tiny glaring flaw in today's flight though was the absence of hot towels. It seems for an airline originating from that part of the world, on a 3-hour international flight in business class, the lack of hot towels was somewhat strange. Because just handing out paper napkins was simply uncharacteristic of a Taiwanese airline. I wonder if this is a COVID-19 cutback which had not been reinstated. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Meanwhile, let us prepare for our arrival into Auckland International Airport.
Welcome guys to the Novotel Hotel, which is just across the road from Auckland Airport International Terminal. So that was my flight with China Airlines from Brisbane to Auckland. What an absolutely fantastic flight that was. I have literally no complaints. The crew were impeccable, the catering was outstanding, top-notch, tip-top. I can't give them any more compliments. Well, anyway, I've chucked details of my Instagram on your screen right now, so hit me up there, chuck me a follow, so you can see where am I traveling to in real time. And of course, more importantly, do not forget to hit the subscribe and bell notification icon. So until the next time, I will see you for my next video. Bye!